Amid the vast land of Alaska, where snow blankets the skies, where pine forests stand tall like guardians of time, and where the ocean roars like the eternal song of the universe, there is always a dark silhouette. A pair of widespread wings, eyes glowing like burning embers in the night, a raspy call echoing across the skies. This is Raven, the clever crow, who is at once a creator god, a trickster, light and shadow alike. In the legends of Alaska's indigenous peoples, Raven is not merely a bird, but a supernatural force, a bringer of both order and chaos, laughter and hope. Long ago, when the world was still shrouded in darkness, when humankind had no light, no fire, no knowledge of hunting or shelter, Raven appeared as a mighty figure to write the very first chapters of life. The Inuit, the Tlingit, the Haida, and many other tribes along the North Pacific coast all tell stories of Raven. Each tale adds a piece to the mosaic, painting the crow as a sly thief, a wise creator, a being driven by desire yet, unintentionally, the giver of humanity's greatest gifts. Imagine the Alaskan sky before the sun existed. Only endless night stretched on, cold and unyielding. People groped in the dark, knowing neither day nor night, unsure when to hunt or when to rest. But then Raven, with his cunning, conceived a bold plan, to steal the sun from the hidden place of a powerful chief. It is said that Raven transformed into a tiny speck of dust, slipping into the chief's house. There, the sun was kept in a radiant box. Raven turned into a child, crying and pleading to play, moving the chief's heart enough to bring out the sun box. In that instant, Raven seized it and flew up into the heavens. Light burst forth, illuminating the universe, scattering the eternal night. From then on, humankind knew day and night, and felt the warmth of the shining sun. But Raven did not stop there. He also stole the moon, and the stars, and gifted them to humankind. To the gods, his prank was chaos, even blasphemy. But to humanity, it was a miracle, an irreplaceable gift. The indigenous people say, without Raven, the world might have remained an endless night, never touched by the sun's glow on Alaska's glaciers and ancient forests. And so it was not only light, Raven also brought fire. In a distant place, fire was guarded carefully. People shivered in the long cold nights, with nothing to warm themselves or cook their food. Once again, Raven schemed. He snatched a burning branch and flew swiftly away, pursued by furious gods. The flames scorched his feathers, turning his once white wings into deep black. From then on, Raven forever bore his dark plumage, a mark of his great deed. And humankind had fire, to warm themselves, to cook food, to drive away wild beasts. Many times, Raven became greedy. He craved, he devoured, he stole everything his eyes desired. Yet strangely, that greed brought countless benefits to humankind. In seeking food for himself, he taught people how to catch fish, how to weave nets, how to craft tools from stone and bone. He showed them the hunting grounds of deer, caribou, and seals. And while people learned all these things, Raven continued his endless journey to satisfy his own hunger. There are tales that say Raven is a liar, a deceiver. Yet from those very lies, moral lessons were born. Inuit children often hear, "Beware of Raven, for he will trick you if you are not wise." And yet, through those deceptions, one learns how to observe, how to reason, how to recognize truth. Raven is both a warning and a hidden teacher. In the mythology of the Haida people, Raven not only stole the sun but also created humankind. One day, as he walked along the beach, he found great clam shells. Inside those shells were tiny beings, trembling with fear. Raven pried the shells open, freeing them, and thus the first humans were born. The human world began from one of Raven's whimsical acts. Close your eyes and imagine an Alaskan beach at dawn, mist drifting over the water, the roar of the waves, and on the sand, giant clams shimmering with light. Raven, with his jet-black feathers and mischievous eyes, used his beak to pry each shell apart. From within, the first people stepped out, gazing in wonder at the vast earth and sky. They were children of the shell, children of the sea, yet also creations of Raven, a creator both spontaneous and magnificent. Raven is not only a creator, but also a bridge between humanity and nature. The native peoples believe Raven is everywhere, in the whistle of the wind through the trees, in the crash of waves against stone, in the dark shadow sweeping across the sky at dusk. He may take the form of an old man, a child, a hunter, or anyone you might meet on your path. And sometimes, when you least expect it, Raven will leave you with a lesson, through a prank, a trick, or a gift. Many legends also say Raven is the one who connects the world of the living with the world of spirits. When someone dies, the cry of a crow above is the message that the soul is on its journey to the other side. The crow, with its black wings and raspy voice, is the invisible bridge between two realms. Native people often see the crow as an omen, a sign of events to come. And sometimes, it is Raven's whisper, reminding humankind of the fragility of life. The mythology of Raven never ends. He is at once a deceiver and a benefactor, a bringer of chaos and a maker of order. In those black wings lies an eternal paradox, darkness and light, selfishness and generosity, disorder and creation. Yet it is precisely this paradox that makes Raven one of the greatest mythological figures, living forever in the memory of countless generations of Alaska's people and the coastal tribes of the Pacific Northwest. And today, when you raise your eyes to Alaska's cold gray sky, and see the silhouette of a crow passing by, remember that it is not just an ordinary bird. It may well be Raven, the one who stole the sun, who brought fire to humankind, who pried open shells to birth humanity. Raven still watches, still chuckles at his own sly tricks, and still whispers lessons to those who listen closely. The world of Raven's mythology is never a single tale. Each tribe weaves its own legends, like threads of many colors interlacing into a mysterious tapestry. In some places, Raven is the supreme creator, in others, merely a mischievous trickster. But wherever he appears, his role is unique, an indispensable figure in the collective imagination of the peoples of the North. In the land of the Tlingit, Raven did not only steal the sun, he also brought water to humankind. Imagine an ancient time when people's throats were parched with thirst, when rivers and streams were imprisoned by a wealthy yet selfish chief. This chief kept water sealed inside giant jars, allowing only his own clan to drink, while all others suffered in thirst. Seeing this, Raven decided to act. He turned into a leaf, drifting on the wind, slipping into the chief's house. Then he transformed into a thirsty child, crying for milk. The chief's daughter, moved by pity, gave the child water to drink, not knowing it was Raven in disguise. Once again, Raven seized the water jar and flew into the sky, smashing it open so that water spilled out, rushing into rivers, streams, and lakes. From then on, humans had water to drink, fish to catch, and fertile soil for planting. Water, light, fire, all the most fundamental elements of life were tied to Raven. And yet Raven was no benevolent saint like in many other mythologies. He was greedy, selfish, deceitful, and often acted only to please himself. But it was precisely this greed that brought benefits to humankind. Perhaps it reflects a profound philosophy of the native peoples, that within darkness lies light, within flaws lies hidden good, and sometimes chaos itself is the driving force of creation. The Haida tell that Raven once created the land itself. When the world was nothing but endless sea, Raven searched for a place to rest. He encountered a giant sea urchin, pecked it open, and from its belly spilled out earth, islands, mountains, shorelines. That was how the world was formed. A tale both fantastical and symbolic, evoking the idea that life arose from the depths of the sea, from nature's hidden secrets, and Raven was the one who unlocked them. In another legend, Raven appears in an entirely different light, foolish and comical. The Inuit say Raven was once gluttonous. He ate so much fish that his belly swelled so large he could no longer fly. He staggered, tried to take off, and then tumbled clumsily to the ground. Laughter erupted through the village as the warriors watched the spectacle. Yet beneath the laughter lay a lesson: greed can bring even the mightiest to fall. Raven, wise though he was, became a living moral tale for humankind. And so Raven always stands between two extremes, the foolish trickster who makes people laugh, and the wise creator who shapes the world. Within his black wings coexist both weakness and greatness. The native storytellers knew this well, and they always passed it down to the next generation. Listen to Raven, for even in his silliest pranks, he may teach you something profound. Picture yourself pausing in the heart of an Alaskan forest, where birch trees rise pale against the snow-covered ground, and you hear the sound of caw, caw echoing in the distance. It may be just an ordinary crow, or it may be Raven, watching you, testing you with an unseen trick. If you lose track of your prey while hunting, beware, perhaps Raven has just flown past, leading you astray. If you find a strange object on your path, consider carefully, it may be a gift left by Raven. In the spiritual life of Alaska's peoples, Raven appears not only in stories but also in art. Totem poles, wooden carvings of sacred beings, often depict Raven with wide eyes, a long beak, and outstretched wings. There, Raven is more than a bird, he is a symbol of wisdom, transformation, and the bond between humankind and the universe. The Haida people also have Raven dances, where dancers wear Raven masks, spin, cry out, and mimic his cunning. When the drums thunder and the steps begin, people believe Raven's spirit enters the dancer, bringing laughter, light, and even darkness into the ceremony. The stories of Raven have lived for thousands of years, passed down from generation to generation. Strangely enough, they have never faded. Even in the modern world, Raven still holds his power. Scholars, writers, and artists alike find in him a treasure, a complex figure reflecting both wisdom and madness, generosity and selfishness. But to see Raven only as a trickster is to miss the deeper truth. The native peoples believe Raven teaches humankind a greater lesson: life is never simple. It is full of contradictions, full of paradoxes, and you must learn how to live within them. Nothing is purely evil, nothing is purely good. Raven is proof of that fragile balance. Another tale says Raven once fell in love with a beautiful woman. He tried every way to win her heart, turning into a handsome young man, bringing her gifts. But the woman refused him, for she did not trust Raven. Heartbroken, Raven flew away. Yet before leaving, he left behind a single flower blooming in the midst of the frozen winter. It was his final gift, proof that even a trickster can know love and sorrow. On long Alaskan winter nights, when families gather around a fire, children eagerly await Raven stories. Grandparents tell them with warm voices, eyes glowing in the firelight. Raven comes alive in the children's imagination, making them both fearful and delighted. They laugh when Raven is clumsy, they hold their breath when he steals the sun, and they marvel at the thought that they might be descendants of the clamshells he once opened. These stories nurture their souls, teaching them about nature, morality, and the wisdom needed to survive in this harsh land. And perhaps that is why Raven still lives on. He is not just a mythological figure, but a collective memory, a connection between people and nature. When someone sees a crow flying across the sky, they do not just see a bird. They see the echo of ancient tales, the shadow of the one who brought light, fire, water, land, and life itself to humanity. Yet Raven does not remain confined within the boundaries of old myths. His presence lingers in daily life, in how native people see the world. If you ask an Inuit elder about Raven, he will not only tell you the legends, but also speak of Raven as a companion. He is there, they say, watching from a branch as we hunt, circling above when we cast our nets, perched on the roof when we light the fire. Raven observes us, tests us, and sometimes, saves us. One story tells of a young hunter who was lost in a blizzard. He walked on and on, his legs trembling, directionless. At his darkest moment, he heard the cry of a crow above. Looking up, he saw Raven circling, then gliding ahead to lead the way. The hunter decided to follow. Step by step, Raven kept soaring just ahead, guiding him to a rocky shelter where warmth and dry wood awaited. Thanks to Raven, he survived the storm. When the blizzard cleared, Raven had vanished, leaving only a few bird tracks in the snow. The hunter returned to his village and told how Raven had saved his life. From that day forward, each time he stepped into the forest, he whispered a quiet thank you. Yet Raven is not always so kind. Sometimes, he only wishes to tease. The Tlingit tell a story of a group of fishermen. The sound of Raven's laughter echoed from above. When the fishermen looked up, they saw him carrying fish clumsily in his beak. It turned out Raven had led the fish away, leaving the fishermen empty-handed. But instead of anger, they understood this was a reminder: be patient, respect the sea, and do not be greedy. And indeed, the next day, when they returned with a calmer spirit, their nets were once again full. Through his cunning, Raven had taught them a lesson. In ceremonies, Raven is often the center. Coastal tribes carve wooden figures of Raven, placing them on the prows of canoes, at village gates, and in meeting houses. These images are not merely decorations, but guardians. People believe Raven can spot enemies from afar, deceive them with tricks, and protect the village from danger. During seasonal rituals, when the harsh winter is about to pass, the drums resound, Raven masks appear, and dancers move in the flickering firelight. It is a moment when people reaffirm their bond with Raven, a god both distant and close. One fascinating detail: in indigenous art, Raven is often depicted with an oversized beak, glowing eyes, and sometimes holding a sphere of light in his hands. That sphere is the sun he once stole. By placing Raven next to the sun, artists remind everyone that no light comes without a price, and no gift arrives without mischief. When comparing Raven to other trickster figures around the world, we see many similarities. In Greek mythology, Hermes was a sly one, stealing Apollo's cattle. In Norse mythology, Loki was both deceiver and instigator of events that led to the world's end. In Africa, Anansi the clever spider was also a trickster, both helping and harming humans. But Raven is unique. He is not only a trickster but also a creator, the bringer of light, water, land, and fire. He both destroys and builds, is both cruel and compassionate. This multifaceted nature makes Raven stand apart, transcending other similar figures. In the modern world, Raven remains a powerful cultural symbol. In Alaska, many schools, sports teams, and community organizations adopt raven as their emblem. People see in him resilience, intelligence, and humor, qualities essential for survival in a harsh land. On city walls, murals depict raven with black wings spread wide, beak clutching the sun, a reminder of cultural roots that never fade. Yet raven also has a darker side. People fear him, for he is tied to death. The cry of a raven on a rooftop is sometimes taken as an omen of mourning. If raven circles above a house, it may be a sign that someone is about to pass away. This fear does not contradict reverence, on the contrary, it makes raven even more sacred. For true deities bring both blessings and curses, and raven is truly worthy of respect. Elders often warn children, never mock raven. If you see him fly past, greet him. If you hear him call, listen. For he may bring you an opportunity or a cruel trick. These words, like a red thread connecting one generation to the next, ensure that raven is never just a figure of old tales, but a part of everyday life. Once, a Haida woman recounted a dream. In her dream, she was walking in a dark forest, and raven flew down to perch on her shoulder. He whispered, "Do not fear the darkness, for within it lies the light I have hidden." When she awoke, she told the whole village, and from then on, that saying became a proverb: in darkness, there is hidden light. Through a dream, raven had bestowed a philosophy of life. And if you listen closely, you will realize that raven teaches humanity more than what he takes or gives. He teaches resilience in hardship, wisdom in struggle, and the acceptance of contradictions in life. Raven does not promise a perfect world, instead, he reminds us that this world is both beautiful and cruel, both bright and dark, and we must learn to walk within both. Imagine once more, Alaska, the sky the color of lead, the cold sea roaring, the ancient forests hushed in silence. Above, the shadow of a raven spreads its wings. It calls out hoarse, mysterious. The cry echoes, bouncing off the cliffs, dissolving into the waves, merging with the wind. It is not just the voice of a bird, but the voice of thousands of years of legend, the voice of raven, the one who brought light, fire, water, land, and mischief into this world. And so, every time you see a black raven against the twilight sky, remember that you are witnessing a fragment of living mythology. Raven is still there in the laughter of children hearing old stories, in the ceremonial dances where raven masks whirl, in the drums that summon the seasons, and in your very imagination. Raven never disappears. He lives in story, in art, in dreams, and in the breath of the Alaskan land. He may be a trickster, or he may be a benefactor. He may be greedy, or he may be generous. But it is this very contradiction that defines Raven the clever crow. And because of that, his tales will be told and retold, from one generation to the next, until the last raven's cry fades from the northern sky.